Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk about moon and the fourth house. So what does it mean for your birth chart? How does it translate into your personality? How does it affect your whole chart and life as a whole? So, the fourth house represents your childhood. It represents the kind of parents you had, the kind of upbringing you had. Um, and it's a very, very core part of your personality and your birth chart. It represents the formative years in your life, and it often represents the kind of nurturing that you received as a child, because the fourth house also represents the mother or parenting, nurturing, all of those themes. It's a very Cancerian watery house because the fourth house is traditionally ruled by Cancer. And the moon, let's talk about the moon. So the moon is a very core part of your personality. It represents your deepest emotions. It represents your subconscious mind. It represents the core part of yourself that not many people really see, except people who are very close to you, like your close friends, your family, people of that nature. So when you have moon in the fourth house, this can be a very delicate placement because we are talking about such a vulnerable core part of your personality being in a house that represents your childhood, your nurturing, the way you received mothering and love as a child. So I will give some examples to illustrate this and how this might play out in your chart. But in a nutshell, just overall, because the moon represents your emotions and what you need to feel secure in life in general, you do need your home to be a sanctuary, a place where you can really feel comfortable and relaxed and truly unwind and be yourself. Now, that could be the case for almost everybody because everybody would like to have a home which is a sanctuary, which helps bring them a lot of peace and calm and all of those things. But for you especially, it's vital that your home or just the space that you live in is literally a sanctuary, because it needs to be that blanket of warmth and comfort that's going to bring you that sense of calmness and peace when you come back to your home. And so for moon and fourth house people, yes, if wherever you stay, try to make sure that it's done up in a way, or it at least represents an aesthetic that brings you a sense of nostalgia, it brings you peace and calm, or just gives you that sense of having a really nice warm blanket surrounding you, just that sense of being very nurturing and comforting. So this could be in the way that you decorate the home. This could be in the way that you just set up your home just so that you feel familiar around it. A very cold, distant looking space is not going to really cut it for you, because you do need your home to feel like home. So that's one of the things that's really important for moon and fourth house people. Now, you may dwell in nostalgia quite a bit because we're talking about the moon here and we're talking about the fourth house here. Very, very strong Cancerian themes playing out. It depends, of course, on where, like what zodiac sign is in your fourth house. Like I always say, it depends on your whole chart. So I'm going to give some examples. Like if you have a Capricorn moon in the fourth house, for example, Capricorn is not really known to be the most emotionally expressive sign, which is why the moon, sorry, which is why the moon doesn't do really well in Capricorn. It does really well in Cancer because it's a watery placement. Cancerians are very connected with their emotions, feelings. So the moon does very well in Cancer, but in Capricorn, it kind of struggles to find an emotional outlet. And when you have, for example, the moon in Capricorn in the fourth house, it may represent themes around very strict parenthood or very strict rules growing up. There may have been a lot of rules and regulations around what you could or couldn't do. There could have been a lot of sternness while growing up. There probably wasn't much attention given to expressing your emotions or feelings as a child, because Capricorn is the opposite end of the spectrum from Cancer. So they are more focused on work, earthly matters, practical things. productivity, efficiency, that sort of thing. They're not really focused on the soft, mushy, emotional side of things like a Cancerian would. So if you have the moon in Capricorn, for example, in the fourth house, then these could be some of the themes that may have played out in your life. Of course, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the aspects to your moon. It depends on whether your moon is exalted or debilitated. But that's another side of the spectrum as well, because your moon could be exalted, but then you could have the moon in the 12th house. So we are going to talk about that as I progress in this series, where I talk about moon in the different houses. But just in the fourth house, um, your childhood is going to be shown, as in how you felt growing up. Was it an environment where you could express yourself freely or express your emotions? Like a Capricorn moon probably would have struggled with that, because like I said, the fourth house represents your childhood, and it could have been it could have been a home where feelings or expressing your feelings were not really encouraged. It was more about being productive, being efficient, getting the job done, that kind of thing. No time for feelings, as they say. Now, for example, if you have moon in Taurus, for example, in the fourth house, you could have had a mother who was very, very caring, very nurturing, the kind of mom who packed your lunches for school, the kind of mom who made sure that you were well fed, well taken care of, because Taurus is about, they love food, right? They also love food, and they're very connected to their senses. So they would ensure that, the child gets the same experience as well. So with the moon in Taurus in the fourth house, your home or childhood would have been like that, where food was a source of comfort, or sensory things were a source of comfort. So the house really smelled great, or you were encouraged to be artistic, because Taurians are very artistic as well. You were encouraged to listen to music or things of that nature, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's very much about being artistic and loving the things that bring joy in life. So you may have had an environment like that growing up. But the flip side of that could be that emotions were dulled down. Like maybe when it came to expressing your feelings, it could have been a case of emotional eating, for example, because that's the shadow side of Taurus, where feelings are kind of clamped down because it's an earth sign. A lot of the earth signs have this trouble with expressing their emotions, so they usually bottle it up with either productivity, like in the case of a Capricorn moon, it's going to be like there's no time for feelings, let's just get the job done. In the case of a Taurus moon, it could be let's just be practical, let's make the surroundings more beautiful and not pay so much attention to the emotions within. So that could be one of the ways it could play out as well. For example, if you had the moon in Pisces in the fourth house, Pisces represents drifting away, it represents the 5D realm, it represents abstract things. Pisces is the modern ruler of Pisces is Neptune, so it represents a level of fogginess, mistiness, things that you can't really grasp. There's nothing really concrete about it. But it's highly imaginative, highly creative, and they really know how to manifest things. So in your case, it could have been a situation where maybe your mother, because the moon represents the mother, your mother was, maybe she loved you a lot, but she was always emotionally absent or distant in some way. And you always felt that lack from her. It's not that she didn't love you, but it's just that you may have felt that disconnect. Like she wasn't really always present. She wasn't always there with you. And she could have been very artistic. She could have been the kind like the painter or the artist, and maybe encouraged you to do the same. Maybe there were no rules growing up, because Pisces is again, they don't like rules and rigidity and restrictions. Virgo does. That's why they're opposites. Virgo does, but Pisces doesn't really enjoy that. They like drifting away. It's a mutable sign, so they enjoy the freedom. So maybe that was the kind of environment for you growing up, where there weren't that many rules and restrictions. Now that could have an opposite effect, right? Like, because you do need some structure, you do need some framework when you're growing up to lay some groundwork, to lay some rules, right? And so one end of the spectrum is Capricorn, where it's too regimented, it's too stern. And the other side you have Pisces, where it's all about do whatever you want, find your own freedom, find your own individuality. And there is a flip side to both these sides, both of these ends of the spectrum. So it's also going to depend on aspects, like I said. Do you have any aspects going on with Pluto, for example, that's going to totally change the character of your emotions or the nature of your emotions, how you express your emotions? Now, in each of these examples, like I said, because the fourth house represents your childhood and the way you grew up, or the tone of the home, or the ambience in which you grew up, you may take that along with you into adulthood as well. So, for example, in the case of a moon in Capricorn in the fourth house, um, the way you bring nostalgia back into your life, because the fourth house is so reminiscent of childhood, we carry it throughout our adulthood with us, and so we try to replicate a piece of our childhood even in adulthood. So when with the moon in Capricorn in the fourth house, for example, you may find yourself using the same rules and restrictions that you had as a child or that were imposed upon you as a child, using that in your adult daily life. Like you may use that as a way to bring back nostalgia because that feels safe and comfortable to you. So you may impose the same rules and restrictions on yourself as an adult, just because it reminds you of childhood, and that's what brings you safety and warmth. Now, with the moon in Taurus in the fourth house, you may make your home a real sanctuary because Taurus, they are so Venusian in nature. They love beautifying their surroundings as well. So your home may be filled with luscious fabrics, beautiful colors, decorations, that kind of thing. Um, you may enjoy, either if you enjoy cooking, that's fine, but you may enjoy really good food, and that may be very important to you to feel emotionally secure and safe. With a Pisces moon, for example, in the fourth house, you may turn to the arts, you may be highly creative, but you could also have a love-hate relationship with all of these themes, right? As a moon and Pisces in the fourth house, if you had like literally no rules or restrictions growing up, as an example, if you were given full leeway to do whatever you want and just find yourself, discover yourself, you may actually hate that growing up. I mean, as an adult. And you may try to be the opposite as a way of overcompensating. So you may impose a lot of rules on yourself because you don't want to be reminded of that childhood. So it could be in it could manifest in any way. It depends on how your childhood was. So people can have a love-hate relationship with their childhood when they have a moon in the fourth house, because there's no real running away from it. It is such a formative part of your life that you're going to have to deal with it at some point of your life. Um, so that's where, as a side note, that's something I help people with. I do counseling and I help people go back to their childhood and figure out the blockages that they may have faced. And that's what I do in my sessions as well. So, yeah, so I mean, with the moon in the fourth house, it's one of those placements that's very similar to the moon in the first house. With the moon in the first house, there's no running away from it because it's all on display. So if you're a private person, like a moon in Scorpio or some other placement that's known to be very private, in the first house, there's no running away. Everybody can see your emotions. It's all up on display. And in the moon, with the moon in the fourth house, it's kind of similar, but even though it's not on display, it's like a constant internal turmoil that you feel because you're constantly reminded of themes around your childhood, even when you're in your adult life. So there's no running away from it. You have to deal with it, make peace with it, or find a way to work around it. That's what I would say. But it's a very beautiful placement because as a person, you are extremely nurturing. I mean, with the moon in the fourth house, you could you could show the world that you're a toughie, you have a tough exterior and all of that, but deep down, with the moon in the fourth house, it doesn't matter even what sign it may be. Like you could be a moon in Capricorn, but because your moon is in the fourth house, you have a very strong nurturing side to you that a lot of people don't get to see, but the people who are very close to you, they do see that. And it really comes out in beautiful ways. The way you show your love to people, the way you show your affection towards people, it's done in a very delicate manner because we're talking about Cancerian themes here. We're talking about the moon here. It's a very vulnerable placement. The fourth house is your childhood. So if you had a difficult childhood, for example, growing up, the way you would show your love or appreciation for people around you is by not repeating the same things with the people that you love. So you would actually take great care to ensure that you consider other people's feelings, you consider other people's background, the way they grew up, and make sure that, sorry, and make sure that they don't feel that the way that you may have felt growing up, you know? So that's one of the beautiful ways that the moon in fourth house plays out in a person's life. Um, yeah, so if you have this placement, it's really beautiful. I mean, I think that you would understand what I'm trying to say because these themes are very prevalent in your life. So that's what I have for you guys for the moon and the fourth house. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. Your likes help my videos stay relevant in the YouTube algorithm. And it also motivates me to deliver more content for you, my lovely subscribers. And if you resonated, do drop in a comment. If you'd like to book a reading with me, you can drop me a message on Facebook or email. The links are in the description box below. And I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye bye.